So one of the most common questions that we get is about DUIs, driving under the influence convictions. Because it is the most classic offense that we hear about, I believe the statistic is about 5 million DUI convictions in the United States every single year. So it represents a huge part of the population. And a lot of that population are people who need to be able to travel across the Canadian border. And people think, well, a DUI, I lost my license, I paid a fine, I had to take some classes, but they don't think of it traditionally as a real criminal conviction because they didn't necessarily get handcuffed or brought to jail or anything like that. And so it's important for people to understand that yes, DUIs count as criminal convictions in terms of being able to access Canada. Last year, in 2018, there was a significant law change in Canada. It was the result of a political compromise wherein Canada decided to legalize marijuana, and as a result, they decided to tighten up the driving while impaired laws. The idea is that more people were going to be inebriated through marijuana, and therefore they wanted to ensure that the roads were not going to become more dangerous. So what they did was they doubled all the sentences on all of the operation while impaired offenses. And why that's significant for what I do is that the single most important factor in figuring out whether a person is going to be allowed into Canada or not is actually the maximum sentence on a conviction for the same offense in Canada. So when Canada said, okay, we're gonna go from a 5-year maximum sentence on a DUI to a 10-year maximum sentence on DUI, it actually put DUI in the same category as murder, trafficking narcotics, assault with bodily injury, sexual offenses. It really put it into this new category for which people didn't typically ever get temporary resident permits or temporary permission to travel to Canada. Luckily, we're 1 year out from that law change, and I can say that the Canadian government has been aware of the fact that people who had a DUI in 2018 aren't necessarily more dangerous than people who had a DUI in 2019. And so they are still processing them in the same type of way, even though they are in a more serious category of criminality at this point. But I suspect that once 5 years have passed and people who had a DUI in 2019 become eligible for rehabilitation, there may be a little bit more of a stringent examination of the file because of the more serious classification of the offense.